Hello, my name is Murilo Pereira, and I am a fifth year BTM co-op student. So for the Zone 100 class, the project that I pursued with my partner Jason Lee was a specialty coffee roasting company. More specifically, a micro specialty coffee roasting, just for the sheer size of how much we could get roasted. At the beginning of the semester, it was basically just an idea, so much so that before we decided to go with roasting, we were thinking of doing coffee-based tasting events. But we kind of took a pivot and decided that, yeah, it might be more expensive to roast, but it's truly something that we both wanted to do rather than hosting events because we're both really passionate about coffee. So before, like when the semester started, we were basically nowhere. It was just an idea. We knew we loved coffee. We knew the ins and outs a little bit of the industry because we've been in the hobby for about 3 years. So we had kind of a stepping stone. Like it's not like some industry that we know nothing about. It was an area that we wanted to explore further with roasting. In terms of the journey from where we started to where we got, we were fortunate enough to actually almost smash all of our goals. I'll show here on the camera. This is the package, like the final packaging for our coffee. On the front, there's this label with all the information about the grounds themselves. Well, they're not ground, but the beans themselves. On the side here, we have our tag, which is sort of our differentiating factor with the shiny text, black on black, and this sticker kind of to hold it all together at the back. But yeah, from the start, again, we had nothing, and we were able to work our way up and achieve our tasks on a weekly basis, really. We were really committed, and we were able to achieve having our product, and some of it, I'd say 75% of it is already sold, which is great. Even before we launched the product, we had pre-orders. In terms of engagement, we were pleasantly surprised at how interested people were, especially because our coffee is kind of interesting. It has like coconut, pineapple, and mojito notes, which people were very drawn to. And just the idea of coffee not tasting like the traditional burnt coffee flavor that people are used to was kind of intriguing to most audiences, particularly in the class. A lot of peers were really enthusiastic about like, hey, where can I try your coffee? This looks really awesome, stuff like that, which is really encouraging, and it really kept us it kept pushing us to keep going forwards. Yeah, in terms of setbacks, what gave us the biggest lesson was around the beginning. I'd say I think January 31st is when we first reached out to our, like we called the KW Collective, which is this roasting facility in Kitchener. And we were quite happy because the owner was very receptive. He was very nice. He's like, yeah, for sure. We know that you're students, so we could do a smaller batch. We can white label for you, which is basically they roast the coffee for us and then package it. We just put our branding on it. The thing is that after a couple weeks of back and forths, he kind of, the owner of KW Collective kind of started ignoring or replying late to our messages. So that forced us to kind of shift gears and find new solutions to actually getting our coffee roasted. But it was a big lesson where we were so committed with working with KW Collective that we didn't even think of the possibility that he might just not reply to us along the way. So yeah, it kind of taught us to have multiple contingency plans where you want to just make sure that if one thing falls through, you have another thing to go off of. And we didn't have that. So we had to act quickly to recuperate that loss, and we were able to luckily find another roaster who worked at one of the cafes that we frequent called the Brick Room, and we decided to roast with him. Even though he has a small roaster that can only do 1 kilo at a time, he's a great partner, and he's been very receptive of our project, very supportive. And we worked with him. But what that really taught us is that you need to be adaptable. You need to be willing to take different courses of actions depending on what happens, and also just take initiative. Like when things go wrong, you can't just sit there and loathe in your temporary failure. You need to look for different avenues to achieve what you're trying to go at. As long as you have a clear goal, I think that's totally doable. And in the case of Jason and myself, we were able to pivot very effectively. And some other lows and highs was really like figuring out our branding. Like we were stuck for the longest time trying to figure out what this would look like. And that kind of set us back where we were so focused on that we kind of didn't focus that much on the product for a little bit, but then we kind of grounded ourselves like, hey, hold on, let's just get our product and we can focus on the branding later. And then it just came naturally as it kind of evolved, as long as we didn't force it. In terms of end users, customers, what we learned from them, we frequented a lot of cafes, mainly Brick Room and eShow for myself, and Jason works at Fusette, so he was able to talk to the owner a lot. One thing that we learned, particularly in the specialty realm, is that we did have this assumption that people want to try different things all the time, and we were pleasantly surprised that that was actually the case. Particularly when speaking with Brick Room, he always said that the things that sell out the quickest are the novelty, like new roasters that people in Toronto haven't seen before. So having something new in the market is a bit of an advantage. Another thing is that exclusivity goes a long way. So people having a sense that they're part of something exclusive really helps you get your name out there, even though it's supposed to be exclusive and it sounds like they're clashing, but it really does work where people are more intrigued. Word of mouth really goes a long way, specifically when it's a luxury product as well. Like this coffee is very expensive, and we know that. So keeping it kind of what's it called, more exclusive is a bit of an advantage when it comes to that, because you'll find the people who are willing to pay money for it. About myself, I'd say that I'm a lot more resilient than I thought. One of the reasons I came into this course, and I guess this is tying into the next few questions, but one of the reasons I came into this course is because I needed a way to pace myself, to force myself to make progress. But I also found myself that I also found in myself that the course didn't really matter when I was doing something with someone else, I guess. The course did help. I guess if I was doing it by myself, it would help in that way. But like what I learned about myself is that I'm extremely resilient when I'm working with others, and it forces myself to want to achieve things when I'm accountable to other people as well, even if it's just cafe partners or Jason, and people in the course in general who are interested in our coffee. It really, I learned that I need that kind of external eye on me to be able to accomplish more, which is a good thing and a bad thing, but that's something I learned about myself. In terms of advancements in the field and industry, I learned quite a lot about roasting, especially when working with Jan, which is our roasting partner. He taught me the ins and outs, what different parameters affect the roast quality, and what the actual impact is on the final cup of coffee and how that tastes. It really gave me a lot of new knowledge about the industry, and just talking with cafes, what consumers want, what's new right now, like what's missing in the market. That was something that was able to advance my knowledge in the field a lot. In terms of next steps, we are looking to run this thing long term, especially during the summer, particularly launching a decaf coffee, because we think that's a really big gap where there's not that much good decaf, and sometimes you want a coffee at night and you just can't have that much caffeine, right? So we're looking at options there, and also just roast another batch of this because this sold out very quickly. So we're pleasantly surprised about that. And yeah, just generally continue. Some advice that I would have given myself at the start, knowing what I know now, is once again, I would say to focus less on branding and really hone in on your product before you develop branding. It sounds kind of counterproductive, but as your product develops, the branding will come naturally, specifically when it materializes more and you understand exactly what you're offering and what your customers want. Then it'll sort of form naturally. You don't have to do branding first and then your product. I felt like I fell into that trap for sure. And in terms of takeaways from the course, I'd say that having a group of like-minded individuals was really helpful for me in particular, where people gave great ideas, particularly Peck, who was not in our squad, but he has a lot of experience in marketing, helped us really develop our brand and our image. But also people in our squad were really receptive, really supportive, and they had really great feedback. And I feel like that's the main value of the course, is having those like-minded individuals, and just really other people to take interest in your project is a really big part of the support that drove us forward. And also just having something to keep you accountable is really important. You can't always keep yourself accountable. Some people can, but for me in particular, I'd say that having the group of individuals around me, the course deliverables that I have to deliver on time, and just wanting to share my progress with others was really useful. So yeah, thank you very much.